All right, so today we're diving into something that's really got me thinking how new research methods can shake things up in the world of management.
Yeah, we're talking about going beyond the old theories and really digging into the nitty-gritty of how organizations actually work.
Right, because who doesn't love a good paradigm shift? And our guide for this deep dive is an article called Improving Management Theory and Policymaking Through Innovative Methods and Data. Catchy, right?
Well, it gets the point across. And don't worry, we'll unpack it all.
Exactly. Consider this your cheat sheet to the world of academic research. No need to wade through pages of jargon. We'll bring you the good stuff, the aha moments. Speaking of which, the article jumps right into a pretty important point. We need new tools, new approaches in management research. What's the deal with that?
So for years, management research, well, it relied pretty heavily on certain methods, surveys, questionnaires, you know the drill. And those have their place, sure. But imagine relying on those same tools for decades, even when awesome new methods are out there.
It's like using a typewriter in the age of laptops, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And this lag, this sticking to the old ways, it has real consequences. It slows down progress, holds us back from truly understanding how organizations work, how to make them better.
So we end up with outdated theories, strategies that don't quite hit the mark, policies that miss their target.
You got it. And the article, it lays out some key reasons why these new methods are so slow to catch on. They call them barriers, which I think is a pretty accurate way to put it.
Okay, I love a good challenge. Let's tear down those barriers one by one. Hit me with barrier number one.
Barrier number one, knowledge and skills. You see, new research methods, they often require specialized know-how. And for researchers who've built their careers on traditional methods, diving into something like, say, analyzing massive data sets or using video to study interactions, well, it can feel like a pretty steep learning curve.
It's like asking a master chef to suddenly become a computer programmer.
Mhm. Exactly. It's a whole new skill set. And it's not just about individual researchers either. Even the way we teach and share these methods, it needs an overhaul. We've got to bridge the gap between different fields like computer science and organizational behavior, so researchers have the support they need to use these amazing new tools.
It's like building bridges between different academic islands.
Yeah.
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
So we've got the knowledge gap. What's the next barrier we're up against?
All right. Barrier number two, resources. And when I say resources, I'm mainly talking about technology.
Makes sense. You can't exactly run cutting-edge analysis on a 10-year-old computer, right?
Exactly. Some of these methods, they require serious computing power, specialized software, not to mention access to those massive data sets we talked about. And not everyone has those resources just readily available.
Right, so even if you have the skills, you might not have the tools.
Mm-hmm.
It's like wanting to build a rocket, but all you have is a screwdriver.
That's a great way to put it. And this is where institutions and funding agencies, they need to step up. We've got to give researchers the resources they need if we want them to use these powerful new methods.
So we've got the knowledge gap, the resource hurdle. What other obstacles are standing between us and a research revolution?
Well, the next barrier, it might surprise you. It's about academia itself. You see, the academic world, it can be, well, a little stuck in its ways.
Okay, so like, we've always done it this way. Why change now? Even if the new way is like way more effective.
Exactly. It's about what's considered acceptable, what's considered rigorous research. The article, it calls this outdated norms. So researchers, they might hesitate to use new methods, even really promising ones, because they're worried their work won't be taken seriously, won't get published.
It's like trying to submit a symphony orchestra piece that uses electric guitars and synthesizers, right? Like, that's not real music.
You got it. It's about challenging those preconceived notions. And that kind of leads us to the final barrier. And this one's a bit tricky. It's all about incentives.
Incentives. Okay, so how do incentives play into all of this?
Well, think about it. Researchers, they're judged, rewarded even, based on their publications.
Right.
It's how they build their careers, get recognition, secure funding. But if journals are hesitant to publish research that uses unconventional methods, well, there's not a lot of motivation for researchers to use those methods in the first place.
It's like telling a painter they can only use watercolors if they want their work displayed in a gallery. No wonder there's a push for these innovative research methods. But enough about the problems, let's talk solutions. The article highlights some seriously cool innovations.
Well, absolutely. And these aren't just like small tweaks. These have the potential to completely revolutionize the field. One of the most exciting, in my opinion, is the use of web-based data, what some people call big data.
Okay, big data. We hear that term everywhere, but what does it actually mean in the context of research?
Think about it. all the information that's constantly being generated online. Social media posts, online reviews, customer feedback, company websites, news articles. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's this absolutely massive amount of data that, until recently, was really tough to collect and analyze in any meaningful way.
It's like having all the ingredients for the world's most amazing dish, but you have no idea how to cook, right?
Perfect analogy. But now, with advances in computing power, new data analysis techniques, researchers can actually use this wealth of information to understand human behavior, organizational dynamics, societal trends, you name it, in a whole new light.
So instead of just asking a small group of people for their opinions in a survey, you can analyze millions of online conversations, posts, reviews to really understand how people think and feel about certain topics.
Precisely. It's a level of depth and breadth that we just couldn't achieve before. Imagine trying to study employee reactions to a new company policy, but all you have are surveys. You're limited by how many people are willing to participate, how honest they are in their responses, whether they can even articulate their thoughts clearly.
And let's be real, sometimes people aren't totally upfront in surveys, especially if they're worried about confidentiality or, repercussions.
Absolutely. But with web-based data, you can analyze data from thousands of employees, their online discussions about the policy, their sentiments in internal forums, even online reviews after the policy is implemented. It's a much more complete picture.
It's like the difference between looking at a single brushstroke and seeing the entire painting.
Exactly. And the best part is, this type of analysis, it can be applied to so many areas: leadership communication, organizational change, consumer behavior, you name it. It's really exciting.
Okay, so web-based data, big data, it's a game changer. What other innovative methods are out there? What else has caught your eye?
Another one I find fascinating is the use of video-based methods. And this is where things get really interesting, because now we're moving beyond just text and numbers. We're actually observing human behavior in action.
We're talking about cameras in the workplace, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not exactly a new concept.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing the way researchers are using video, it's gotten a lot more sophisticated.
Oh, definitely. Think about it. If you're trying to study something like leadership styles, but all you have are interviews and questionnaires, you're relying on people's perceptions, their memories, their interpretations, which, let's face it, can be a bit subjective.
Right, like what was the leader's tone when they announced the new project? Was it
Yeah.
inspiring? Was it terrifying? I can't remember.
Exactly. But with video, you can actually see the leader interacting with their team. You can analyze their body language, tone of voice, facial expressions. You get so much more nuance.
You can see how they build rapport, how they handle conflict, how they motivate their teams, like getting a backstage pass to see how teams actually function.
Precisely. And this kind of analysis, it can be incredibly valuable for things like leadership development programs, team effectiveness training, even conflict resolution.
It's not just about leadership either, right? I imagine video could be used to study all sorts of workplace interactions, negotiations, sales pitches, customer service encounters.
You're absolutely right. Video-based research is all about capturing that richness, that complexity of human interaction that often gets lost in other research methods. All those subtle cues, nonverbal signals, they can make a huge difference in how people perceive and respond to each other.
Okay, so we've got big data giving us that big picture view and video-based research zooming in on the fine details of human interaction. What's the third game-changing innovation in this research revolution? So we've got big data, video. What else is shaking things up in the research
Oh,
world?
great. Get ready for this one computer-aided text analysis. It might sound kind of intimidating, but it's really all about making sense of something we encounter every single day: words.
Okay, so we're talking like emails, articles, social media posts, all that text data that's like exploding around us.
Exactly. Think about all the qualitative data researchers collect: interview transcripts, responses to open-ended survey questions, even company documents. Analyzing all of that, well, it used to be incredibly time-consuming.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You'd have to read through everything, identify the key themes, categorize them manually. It was a massive undertaking. But computer-aided text analysis, this is where things get really interesting. It uses these sophisticated algorithms to analyze huge volumes of text, way more than a human could handle, and it can identify patterns, themes, sentiments, things that we might miss if we're just reading through it ourselves.
So it's like having a research assistant who can speed read 1,000,000 pages and tell you exactly what's important.
Essentially, yeah. But even better, because it can pick up on these subtle language cues, these patterns that even the most attentive human researcher might overlook.
Okay, so it's like having a super-powered research assistant. But what kind of things can you actually learn from this type of analysis? Give me an example.
Sure, imagine you're a company and you're trying to figure out why your employees are leaving. You could use computer-aided text analysis to analyze exit interview transcripts, say from the past 5 years. The software could identify recurring themes like a lack of career growth opportunities or concerns about management style, things that might not be obvious from just reading a few individual interviews.
That's incredibly useful. Instead of guessing at the problem, you've got solid data to help you figure it out.
Exactly. And this kind of analysis, it isn't limited to internal company data either. Researchers can use it to study anything from news articles to social media conversations and uncover these hidden patterns and trends that can help us understand everything from marketing strategies to how we make public policy decisions.
Okay, so we've covered three major innovations in management research: web-based data, video-based methods, and computer-aided text analysis. Each one is super interesting in its own right, but I'm thinking combining them, that's where the real magic happens, right?
Absolutely. I mean, imagine using computer-aided text analysis to analyze the sentiment, the themes in thousands of customer reviews, and then combining that with video analysis of customer service interactions to understand how different communication styles actually impact customer satisfaction.
Wow, that's next level. But we've talked a lot about the barriers to actually using these methods. So how do we overcome those obstacles? How do we usher in this new era of research?
Well, one crucial step is addressing that knowledge and skills gap we talked about. We need to make training and resources more readily available. Imagine universities are offering workshops on these cutting-edge methods, and not just seasoned researchers, but to students who are just starting out in their academic careers.
Yeah, get them excited about these new approaches early on. It's like learning a new language. It's easier when you're young.
Exactly. And these workshops, they could be tailored to specific fields. Like, imagine a workshop specifically for organizational behavior researchers on how to use computer-aided text analysis to study company culture, or a workshop for leadership scholars on using video-based methods to study team dynamics.
Practical hands-on training, that's what's going to help researchers actually use these tools. What about the resource barrier? We talked about how not everyone has access to the latest software or the most powerful computers.
Right, and that's where collaboration comes in. Imagine universities creating these shared research labs that are equipped with the latest technology, and these labs are open to researchers from all different departments. So you could have a social psychologist who's studying group behavior working alongside a computer scientist who specializes in artificial intelligence, and they can share their expertise and resources.
It's about breaking out of those academic silos,
Yeah.
right? And creating a space where people can collaborate and innovate together.
Exactly. And journals, they have a big role to play too. What if they dedicated special issues to studies that use these innovative methods? Really showcase the amazing work that's possible when researchers embrace these new tools.
It's about changing the perception of what's considered good research,
Hmm.
right? Celebrating those who are pushing boundaries, trying new things.
Absolutely. And of course, we can't forget about incentives. If funding agencies prioritize grants for projects that use these methods, it sends a clear message that this type of research is valuable.
It's like you always hear, what gets measured gets managed.
Right. And imagine the impact that could have. More funding means more research, which leads to more publications and ultimately a deeper, richer understanding of, well, pretty much everything.
It's about pushing the boundaries of knowledge
Yeah.
and then using that knowledge to solve real-world problems, make organizations more effective, and maybe even make the world just a little bit better. And that's something I think we can all get behind.
Absolutely. And what's really exciting is that, we're just at the beginning here. Who knows what incredible discoveries are waiting for us as these methods continue to evolve and we find new and creative ways to use them.
That's the beauty of research, right? It's all about asking those what-if questions, exploring the unknown, being open to new possibilities. So to all of our listeners out there, keep asking those questions, keep diving deep into the topics that fascinate you. And you never know, you might be the one to make the next groundbreaking discovery. Until next time, keep exploring.